Okay, so
Right.
we've talked about the evidential worldview apologetic. We've talked about, that love apologetic and everything. What's the next one? What's the
The
next?
next one is the prayer apologetic.
Okay.
So the prayer apologetic is basically the barrier of people need to see that God is really there and that we can really know him.
Okay.
So what do we do in response to this? We need to show that, so we have these people there and they wonder when they pray if they're just praying to the ceiling.
Right.
It's like, does anybody even listening up there?
Yeah.
They wonder,
I think everybody's felt that way at some point in time or another.
Well, yes, everyone does to a certain extent, but I mean, like, really, they just like, I don't even know if somebody's there. But let me tell you, your life can show something different because they need to know that God really interacts with people through prayer, that he really does answer prayer, that you can have a relationship with God through prayer.
So one of the key ways, from what I'm hearing right now, to make this happen, to be able to live out the prayer apologetic, is to be unabashedly, bold about telling the stories of God answering prayer in our life, or telling times when God spoke to us and encouraged us as we were talking to him, because those kind of prayers will actually make it to where people are like, oh, okay, wait a second, God's real. He answers you. He's really out there. He's really listening to you. You asked for this thing and he did this thing, or you needed this and he ended up encouraging you this way. Those are the kind of things that people go, okay, maybe he really does care and all of that. So that's what the prayer apologetic would be.
Right. Because I mean, it comes down to the fact of, do they, when it comes to prayer, in order for us to really be able to have a prayer apologetic with other people, to show them that God is really there, we actually have to live it out in our own lives. We have to have that prayer life. See, this is part of why apologetics is not just about answering an argument. We have to actually live it and own it. And so a lot of our American Christianity is intellectual. We just talk about things that we know about God. We don't show love to other people, and because maybe we're not loving. And so this one, the prayer, perhaps we don't have a prayer apologetic because we don't actually pray to God. We don't actually develop that relationship with him through prayer. And so we don't have anything to tell others about. Basically, prayer needs to be, you need to make it to where when you talk to other people, that prayer is normal, that talking to God is as normal and real as talking to somebody else. So it shouldn't be this religious activity that you're trying to invite people to do, or that you do in this prayer closet with this certain religiosity around it. It's the air that you breathe. So it should be about when you're talking to people about your relationship with God, it should be nothing for you to say, oh yeah, well, I was talking to God about the other day about whether I should do this or that, and I just really didn't know, and I feel like he's been leading me down this path. And so, and then as you go down that path, well, God really answered that prayer because it turned out that was the exact right thing to do. So stuff like that should be the normal thing when you're talking about the prayer apologetic.
Yeah, it was very interesting. When I was a kid, actually, it was when my brother was small. He and my dad were visiting a shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper did something that was dishonest and not nice at all. But my dad responded in a very angry way, very over the top way. And that evening, he went back home, and he was, as he does, reflecting on his day before the Lord. And the Lord brought that situation to mind. And Dad was like, "Oh yeah, I was mad at that guy. I can't believe he tried to cheat me and all of that." And then God was like, "Yeah, but did you respond the way that you should?" And through that moment, God convicted my father, and my father ended up taking my little brother and going back to the shopkeeper. And he walked in, the shopkeeper's eyes just dropped and was like, "Oh, this guy." And my dad walked up to him and said, I need to talk to you about yesterday. Last night, I was reflecting on my day before the Lord, and he revealed to me that I didn't treat you the way that I should. And I've asked him to forgive me, and he has forgiven me, but he also has instructed that I'm to come to you and to ask you for your forgiveness in this matter. Will you forgive me? I should not.
So that was something that came out in prayer as he was praying about.
So
okay, I see what you were going with that.
The
At first
prayer,
I was like,
the prayer totally made this happen. Yes. And so he was able to say, and look what he says. He says, I go before God
Right.
God showed me I did wrong. I've
Mm.
confessed my sin and he has forgiven me, but now I'm supposed to come to you and seek your forgiveness as well.
So
And
that's
so what
another
that did is it made it
application of
very real.
how the prayer is. And this is also all the more that we need to show answers to prayer. We
Right.
prayed for this, God answered. Isn't that great? And the thing is, as you do this, you can invite people, even if they're not believers, into praying for themselves, because God listens to those who are seeking him. And
Mm.
so, this is what another way we could do the prayer, how the prayer apologetic can really answer for people. God is really there, and we really can know him. He's not some type of theological, it's not a book, this is not some type of theory. It's real.